Hey everyone, Zak here. Welcome to this explainer from Zak Wealth Files. Today we're diving into a totally wild, semi-viral financial paradox. Imagine a couple bringing in a massive, top-tier salary, but somehow they have almost absolutely nothing left over at the end of the month. Sound crazy? Well, by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why a high income definitely does not automatically equal wealth, and more importantly, the exact steps you can take to avoid falling into this exact same trap. Let's get right into it. So here's the actual reality of that viral example. We're talking about a couple earning $280,000 a year combined, right? After taxes, they're taking home close to $18,000 every single month. But when you look at the breakdown, they were found to be saving only $225 of it. Not $2,000, $225. Now, if your first instinct is just, no way, that's impossible, how do you make that much money and save basically nothing? Well, you are definitely not alone. But as we'll see, they didn't get here because of some huge catastrophic financial disaster. They got here because of 100 small, completely normal feeling decisions. Believe it or not, this situation is so incredibly common, it actually has its own name in financial circles. They call it being a Henry. That stands for high earner, not rich yet. So a Henry is someone with a genuinely high income. We're talking well into the six figures, but with very little actual accumulated wealth to show for it. You see, they aren't necessarily out there being deeply reckless with their money, but they're earning a lot and somehow still not building real net worth at a pace anywhere close to what their income suggests should be possible. Because the hard truth is, earning a lot of money simply does not automatically translate into building real wealth. And if you're thinking this is just one isolated, irresponsible couple, think again. Recent survey data actually puts a hard number on how widespread this issue is. Nearly 2/3 of people earning over $300,000 a year report struggling with credit card debt. I mean, let that sit for a second. This is not a story about people who can't manage their money because they simply don't have enough to cover the bare basics. This is a massive systemic issue happening specifically to people with what most of the population would consider an enormous, totally life-changing income. Okay, so how does $18,000 a month just vanish into thin air? Well, housing takes a massive bite right off the top at around $5,500. Add in childcare at $2,500, and boom, you've already burned through almost half your take-home pay. Throw in $1,700 for lifestyle and dining out, 2 car payments totaling $1,500, and then another $1,000 just for student loans. Once you add in daily utilities and groceries, you can see exactly how fast that mountain of cash just evaporates. By the time your big income filters through all of those fixed monthly obligations, what actually drops into your savings bucket shrinks down to basically nothing. Literally, just a couple $100s. And here is the absolutely crucial point we need to understand. It isn't because any single decision on that budget was wildly reckless on its own. It's because every single individual expense was sized up to match an income level that, on paper, could technically afford it. To really get why this happens, we have to look under the hood at the psychology behind our money. A clinical psychologist who studies spending behavior pointed out this incredible paradox. Earning money doesn't actually make you feel wealthy. Spending it does. Think about it. If you spend nearly all of a very high income, you feel genuinely rich in the moment. That feeling of wealth is tied to your daily lifestyle. The nice car, the beautiful house, the fancy dinners out. It is not tied to a digital bank balance that you probably don't even look at day to day. So the spending feels earned, but the actual wealth accumulation, it quietly just never happens. Which brings us to why this upper-middle, six-figure income range is just so vulnerable to this. Let's contrast necessity budgeting with lifestyle creep. It's kind of like a gas expanding to fill whatever container it's in, right? At lower incomes, the container is tight by pure necessity. The absolute basics take up almost the entire paycheck. At extreme highs, on the other hand, the container is just too big to fill. You can live an incredibly indulgent lifestyle and still have massive amounts of cash left over to invest. But right in the middle, that Henry zone, income feels just abundant enough to justify upgrades at every single step, which allows your lifestyle to expand perfectly to consume every single dollar you make. Now let's add fuel to the fire with something called the comparison effect. See, Henrys often live in really expensive cities, and they work in professional circles around colleagues who make similarly high salaries. And because of this, their actual income, however objectively large it is in absolute terms, just doesn't feel exceptional relative to the people around them. It just feels normal. And mathematically speaking, when your massive income feels perfectly average for your neighborhood or your office, it significantly reduces that felt urgency to save aggressively. You just don't feel like you need to. So what do we do about this? Well, the good news is this is totally fixable without even having to lower your income.
Here is a practical 5-step framework to escape the Henry trap. We're going to calculate your true savings rate, invest raises first, audit your fixed costs, filter for genuine joy, and finally, automate those investments. Let's break these down real quick.
All right, steps 1 and 2 are all about facing the actual math. Step 1, you have to calculate your savings rate as a percentage of your take-home pay, not just a flat dollar amount. You have to be completely honest about where it currently stands because you simply can't fix a number you haven't actually looked at. Then, step 2, deliberately apply the invest first, spend what's left rule specifically to your future income increases. Listen, every single time you get a raise or a bonus, a predetermined percentage of that must automatically go to savings and investing before your lifestyle ever gets a chance to expand and absorb it.
Moving on to step 3, and this one requires a little bit of honest self-reflection. You need to audit your largest fixed costs. As we saw in our example budget earlier, housing and vehicles tend to be the 2 biggest levers that hold back high earners. I challenge you to look at those specific expenses in your own life and ask yourself honestly, were they sized to match your income because you actually needed them at that level, or simply because you knew you could technically afford the monthly payment?
Step 4 is about really understanding your own personal values. It's separating genuine lifestyle enjoyment from a lifestyle that exists just to match your income level or to match your peers. This right here is the absolute core of what we call stealth wealth. Spending money to visibly match the lifestyle of the high earners around you is a completely different financial decision than spending money on things that bring you actual, genuine joy, regardless of what anyone else is doing.
And finally, step 5. You have to automate your investing contributions so they scale right along with your income. Do not rely on willpower here. Willpower gets tired, automation doesn't. If you have to make a manual decision to invest every single time your income goes up, lifestyle creep quietly wins every time. So automate it to pull from your accounts before you even see the money.
Now, a super quick but honest caveat before we wrap this up. We know every household's cost of living and family situation is totally different. Specific costs like childcare, housing, and student loans are going to vary wildly depending on your exact life stage and whether you happen to live in a major metro area. This explainer is strictly for general education based on publicly reported patterns and survey data. It is not personalized advice for your specific situation. So if you recognize this Henry pattern in your own finances, a licensed financial advisor can help you build a personalized plan that factors in your exact obligations and your unique goals.
So here is the absolute core takeaway I want you to leave with today. Being a Henry isn't about earning too little. The fix isn't just grinding to earn more money, because the data clearly shows us that a higher income alone doesn't solve the problem. The real fix is about deliberately protecting a strict percentage of your income before your lifestyle gets the chance to comfortably expand into it. A high income is a massive, genuine advantage. It's just not, on its own, the exact same thing as being rich.
I want to end today's explainer with a direct question for you to really think about. Have you experienced this yourself? Has your income gone up over the years, but your savings somehow just didn't follow? If breaking this down gave you some clarity on your own financial situation, or maybe explained a pattern you've seen in others, well, that's exactly what Zak Wealth Files is all about. Calm, numbers-first education for real long-term wealth building. Make sure to subscribe for more actionable frameworks just like this. Let me know your thoughts on that question down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.